WFYI Podcasts, brought to you by Foster Success, supporting older foster youth through the Ensuring Foster Youth license plate. More information available at fostersuccess.org.
WFYI Podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington, Indiana, where Hoagie Carmichael, Booker T. Jones, and John Mellencamp impacted the city and helped it become a music destination. Bloomington is home to a variety of musical artists, live music venues, and hundreds of annual music events. More information at musicbloomington.com.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
This is Butch Slaughter, and you're listening to the echoes of Indiana Avenue. Welcome to my neighborhood, the Avenue. I grew up here, and each week I'll be sharing the sounds and stories of the people that made the Avenue great. Welcome back to the Avenue. This is the second episode in our three-part series celebrating the May 25th birthday of Phil Ranelin, a legendary Naptown jazz trombonist. He was born in Indianapolis in 1939. He lived on the city's east side and attended Arsenal Tech High School. During his time in Indianapolis, Phil performed with the city's greatest jazz musicians, including Freddie Hubbard and Wes Montgomery. In the late 1960s, Phil moved to Detroit, where he co-founded Tribe Records in the early 1970s. The socially conscious music Phil recorded with Tribe blended traditional jazz with funk and avant-garde techniques, helping to redefine the boundaries of the genre.
The earth is sad, what can we do to preserve our nature? So that we can begin to live in peace of mind.
Phil spent much of the last 40 years living in Los Angeles, California, but he recently returned to his hometown of Indianapolis after suffering a stroke in 2021. Stay tuned for the next hour as we explore the music of Phil Ranelin. We'll also listen to a recent interview he recorded with WFYI's Kyle Long. Phil's music continues to influence new generations of musicians around the world, as we'll hear in the next track featuring the acclaimed saxophonist Kamasi Washington. From the 2011 album, Perseverance, this is Phil Ranelin performing One for Johnson. That was Phil Ranelin with One for Johnson. Phil recently spoke with WFYI's Kyle Long. Let's join their conversation as they discuss the influence of his work on young musicians.
Last time we were here, we talked about the interest young people have in your music.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it's a cycle. Like every few years, a new generation comes along and picks up on what you did, especially with the Tribe.
Right.
I wanted to ask about some of the folks you were working with in Los Angeles from a different generation, like people like Carlos Niño and Kamasi Washington. You were very revered in that scene of people coming up in Los Angeles and what they would call like spiritual jazz. Tell me about that.
I was involved unknowingly. I mean, I wasn't aware. I was just being me, and he was coming to me, and we were doing things together, and I'm happy I did them. Carlos is a great friend, and he helped me in so many ways. Even after I had my stroke, he helped me move my stuff out of my apartment because I wasn't here. I wasn't there. I mean, I was here. I was in Indianapolis. My daughters came and got me. But, those guys were very instrumental in my staying involved in music. Kamasi and Aaron Shaw.
Another interesting release that came out this year is a record called Tune Up. Tune Up by Turn on the Sunlight.
Tune Up?
Yeah, you're singing on this record. Do you remember making that?
No. Well, you know what happened?
Yeah.
What happened was when I was doing Infinite Expressions, Infinite Expressions wasn't really intended to be Infinite Expression. It was supposed to be a more straight ahead kind of thing, and I was going to do the Miles Davis song, Tune Up. Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. So in the studio, I actually laid the track down, but I wasn't happy with it. And I said, I wasn't happy mainly with the vocal. And so I said, no, let's do something. I want to do something else. So that's when I brought in Infinite Expression. So anyway, those guys, there again, there's Carlos Niño and his friend Jesse Peterson. They heard it by chance. Well, Jesse was engineering it, so he heard it several times, so he knew what was happening with it. So they, not knowingly, I mean, I didn't have any knowledge of this. They went in the studio and did some other stuff with it and enhanced it with with a choir, and I loved it. I said, oh, yeah, man. And so Jesse Peterson is kind of the producer on that. Let's all get into with each other. Tuning is a rule. Let's all stay to see a better day. Do it soon. Reach for the moon.
That was Turn on the Sunlight with Tune Up, featuring Phil Ranelin on vocals. Turn on the Sunlight is a project featuring the influential producer Carlos Niño. Phil's music continues to inspire new generations of artists around the world, as we'll hear in this next track, a 2019 recording of Phil's classic composition, Vibes from the Tribe. This is Emma Native with Vibes from the Tribe, featuring Phil Ranelin on vocals and trombone.
Expression inspired by ancestors. Inspiration from the ancestors and memories of times gone by. Honor thy mother. Honor thy mother. The rhythm from afar. The rhythm from afar and near.
That was Emanative with Vibes from the Tribe, featuring Phil Ranelin on vocals and trombone. Let's return to our conversation with Phil as he discusses his work as a vocalist and lyricist.
In addition to your work as a trombonist, you also were a featured vocalist and songwriter on many of your releases, and some of those are my favorite recordings you've made, like How Do We End All This Madness, A New Day. The lyrics are powerful. You wrote very powerful lyrics. Tell me about your work as a songwriter and vocalist.
Well, it wasn't a sit-down guy. It was just like off the, like this thought had come to me and that thought would come to me, and I try to vocalize it. And some of them were kind of cumbersome, but it's coming from me, so they were sincere. And so some of my music is kind of cumbersome, as I said, but it was honest. And I can't call myself a real true songwriter, but I've written some songs.
Some amazing songs, yeah. Do you remember the first time you sang on stage? I mean, was that something you were incorporating here in Indianapolis, or was that after you got to Detroit?
Detroit.
Yeah. What inspired you to start doing that?
I don't know. I was listening to Carmen McRae. I heard Carmen McRae singing, and I got inspired. And so the first song I ever sang on stage was Round About Midnight, because I heard her version of it, which I can't find anymore. But anyway, I sang at a place called The Drone, which was right across the street from pastrami restaurant. And after the gig, we would all go to the restaurant and get a pastrami or a corned beef sandwich.
Tears you've shed today will pause waiting until tomorrow. Dreams of what could be come close to me timidly. There's a brand new day in sight. At the time round about midnight.
I sang round about midnight, and the women, and not only women, but everybody went crazy and said, "Man, Phil, you gotta keep singing." And they wanted me to be his vocalist, but I didn't have the courage. So.
But you ended up incorporating it on a lot of your records over time.
Yeah, I did.
It was just a spontaneous thing when you were in the studio? Yeah. Were you singing those songs when you were playing live at the time?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they're powerful.
I didn't know. I didn't have enough material to be an outright vocalist, So when people would ask me to sing, I kept singing the same song, but no one minded. They didn't care. So it's I'm happy with the fact that I inspired people with my voice.
The lyrics are very unique to the songs you were singing. Had you been writing poetry? Had you been writing at all?
I wrote some poetry.
Yeah.
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 Some of it was crazy. Some of it was true.
Each time I visit my hometown, a beautiful feeling arises within. A constant memory of times that bring joy to a proud father's heart so sincere. Two girls are by that I love just the same. Two girls are by to me, a thrill they bring. I fall in love each time that I hold them and feel all the warmth that children bring.
Up next, we'll listen to the title track from Phil Ranelin's 2005 album, Living in a New Day, featuring Phil on vocals and trombone.
Well, we're living in a new day. We're living in a new day and doing things a new way. A new way. I'm talking about a new day. Searching for the right way.
Stay tuned. Echoes of Indiana Avenue will return with more words and music from Phil Ranelin after this short break.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington, Indiana, where Hoagie Carmichael, Booker T. Jones, and John Mellencamp impacted the city and helped it become a music destination. Bloomington is home to a variety of musical artists, live music venues, and hundreds of annual music events. More information at musicbloomington.com.
This is Butch Slaughter, and you're listening to the Echoes of Indiana Avenue.
This is the second episode in our three-part series celebrating the music of the Naptown trombonist Phil Ranelin. May 25th is the 86th anniversary of his birth. Phil recently spoke with WFYI's Kyle Long. Let's return to their conversation.
I did want to talk to you a little bit about your experiences playing on Indiana Avenue, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, the one that sticks out the most with me is Wes Montgomery because, you know, he was my hero. Melvin Ryan, man, I miss all these guys, but Melvin was one of my favorite people, and he was very laid back. And I had met Melvin when we went to Russell Brown's summer camp.
At Attucks.
At Attucks.
Yeah.
I was still in grade school. Those guys were in high school. Melvin and Spalding and who else? Larry Ridley and a couple of other people. But anyway, fast forward a little bit. You know, I'm 19 years old now, and I had a girlfriend over on the avenue, and I left her apartment and was going shopping at the. I wanted to buy some shoes, hobnobs they call them, and so there was a famous shoe dealership right on the avenue. Florsheim was the main name on the marquee, I believe. And so I was going in the store, and Melvin was coming out. We didn't really know each other. We had met only one or two times 4 or 5 years prior to that, right? So, but we recognized each other, and he kind of froze and stopped and said, "Hey, man, don't I know you?" Yeah, so and so and so. Yeah, you still playing the trombone? I said, yeah. Well, you know, I'm playing with Wes Montgomery now. I said, really? Yeah, we playing tonight. We playing this evening. I mean, doing a matinee, so and so. You should come by and bring your horn. I said, oh, okay. So after I bought my hobnobs and went home and washed, and showered and got ready, I went to the matinee, and they were on a break. They meaning Wes Montgomery, Melvin Ryan, and Paul Parker. They were sitting in a table on break to the left of the bandstand. The bandstand's over here. So when I come in, Melvin motioned to me to come over, and he introduced me to Wes. So Wes looked at me and he said, "What's that in there?" He said, and I said, "Oh, a trombone." He said, "Well, break it out." So I did, and we played, and I played with him every Saturday for 16 straight weeks. And what a beautiful human being. Yeah, he was a nice guy, because he put up with my bad notes and my bad playing for 16 straight weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were still here in Indianapolis when he passed, weren't you, in 68?
Well, I was here to the end of 68,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was here, because he died in June.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was here.
What did you make of that when it shocked everybody. He was 48,
Well,
I think.
It shocked me because I had just seen him a week and a half before that, ironically enough, at a Freddie Hubbard concert. Freddie brought a hell of a band to Clues Hall. Herbie Lewis.
I think James Spaulding was with him on that show.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. And so Wes was there and looked fine, and everything, smiling as usual and talking to people. And so a week and a half later, he's dead. But prior to that concert, he had went to the doctor, and they told him he could never play again because it was too strenuous on his heart. So he wasn't telling people that, but that's what had happened. And they say, I wasn't there, but I guess his wife told people he had been sitting on a stool at the bar, not drinking alcohol, but sitting there, and all of a sudden just, boom, fell down, and that was it. He was dead.
What did you take away from that experience of playing with him at such a young age?
Oh, being yourself and being able to incorporate the blues and just everything. That's what he did.
Who were some of the other local artists you were playing with at that time? You told me you started with Harvey Cook and the Blue Tones, right? The blues band.
Yeah.
And you were probably playing out on the Avenue with him.
I was.
Yeah. Do you remember what place to play, what club it might have been?
Place to play, once or twice at Al Coleman's club,
British Lounge.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like at that time in the Avenue?
Hostile.
Hostile?
Hostile as far as you're trying to play that old funny music. And they want to just hear the blues, I played in one of my first gigs that I had was out on Senate. And I wrote a song called 13th and Senate, because it's a little place that had barbecue, smoked ribs, pool room, and a club. It wasn't a jazz club, it was a blues club. So somehow I got the gig to play there one night, and I came in and played, and I played, man, I thought I played the blues to death. And some guy walks up to me, "Hey, when y'all gonna play the blues?" I said, "Oh, man, I'm in for a long night. I'll do my best." "When y'all gonna play the blues?" "Man, I just played the blues." But anyway, I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. People talk about Indiana Avenue being a jazz mecca, but rhythm and blues was really the most popular music over there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Like Louis Jordan and all that
Annapolis
stuff.
was a blues town, man.
Yeah.
That's why JJ and all them cats left.
And Wes was able to somehow satisfy that. Yeah, that's interesting.
And plus he played the guitar too, and he played the hell out of it. So yeah, he was able to stay here.
Was it discouraging for you to be a musician here and not be able to relate with the audiences? You know, you described that situation. The guy said, "When you're going to play the blues?" Was it frustrating for you being in Indianapolis as a musician?
Yeah. But
you led a band here for a while, right?
huh?
You led your own band here for a while, right?
Yeah, but not much. I played a few times with my own band. I played over what was the place?
19th hole?
19th hole, and a couple other places. But I had my horn stolen at the 19th hole. I don't know if they was sending me a message or what. But anyway, I think the gig might have been over, and I had the horn behind me, and we had a circle of guys, 3-4 guys talking, and man, I looked around, my horn was gone.
Did you have a favorite club here to play in?
The 19th hole.
Yeah.
And Hubbub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While you were here, other than Wes, who are some of the musicians you like to go see or respected here in the local scene?
Pookie Johnson.
Yeah.
I used to play with Pookie Johnson and David Young. Okay, they alternated. Because the Cactus Club, there was a band there every night for years on the weekend, right? So I used to go sit in with Pookie, and I would go sit in with David Young. So I might be wrong. They may have, Pookie might have played for a year or two there, and then David took over and played there. Anyway, David was playing there every weekend, and so he had a good paying gig somewhere, and he called me up. I'd been going over there sitting in with him. I went to the gig. David called me up. "Hey man, I can't play the gig tonight. Can you cover for me?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Okay, well, so and so told me how much he could give me, and so I got to the club early, was in the corner warming up, and the club owner smiled at me, and so it's getting close to hit time, and the club owner walks over to me and said, "Where's David? He's usually here by now." I said, "Oh, he's not coming tonight. He sent me. I'm covering for him tonight." He said, "No, you're not." He said, with a trombone? You covering for him? I said, yeah. I knew all the tunes they had been playing. And so he said, no, I'm not going to pay you to play in my club. A trombone is only meant to play in a circus. What? I mean, and so I was so embarrassed and hurt that I left the club, didn't play. But yeah, that guy wasn't very, very nice.
That was the Cactus Club?
Yeah, it's Cactus Club.
Yeah, wow.
Bad experience.
Yeah.
I had a few of them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like people were very open-minded in the clubs in Indianapolis to new music.
No.
This is Butch Slaughter, and you're listening to the echoes of Indiana Avenue.
We'll end this week's show with a track Phil recorded in 2005, paying tribute to his Indianapolis roots. From the album Living in a New Day, this is Naptown Afternoon. That was Phil Ranelin with Naptown Afternoon. And that's all the time we have this week. Thanks to our guest, Phil Ranelin, and thank you for listening. Tune in next week for another hour of words and music from Phil Ranelin. You can meet me here on the Avenue again next week, same time, same place. And you can find the Echoes of Indiana Avenue podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you download your podcast. Echoes of Indiana Avenue is written and produced by Kyle Long and hosted and co-produced by me, Herman Butch Slaughter.
Nobody knows on uptown, baby, like I do. Nobody knows on uptown, baby, like I do. If you will stop and listen, I will tell you a thing or two.
WFYI Podcasts, brought to you by Foster Success, supporting older foster youth through the Insuring Foster Youth license plate. More information available at fostersuccess.org.